Where are you from, Connie?
Oh, I just have a question. I was wondering what the secular world, what the non-Catholics believe about Fatima. Do they accept it, or do they reject the existence of it ever happening?
What do you think?
Well, I think, Father Mitch, it's a good question, Connie. Remember, Fatima is a private revelation. In other words, it's not part of the public revelation made by Christ and that ended with the death of the last apostle, which is essential for our Catholic faith. It is a private revelation, and you can give to that private revelation as much credence as you see evidence for it. But I think as Catholics, you know, the approval of in other words, the Church's approval, acceptance that Fatima was a true revelation from the Blessed Mother, happened so quickly. It happened within, I think, 13 years. I think by 1930, it had received approval. And that's very, very quick. And, of course, with the miracle of the Sun, 75,000 people saw that. And
what was the miracle of the Sun?
Miracle of the Sun was, you remember I had mentioned that little Lucia said, the people want to know, she told the Blessed Mother, you're really appearing here. She told her that in July. And the Blessed Mother said, all right, in October, I will tell you who I am, Our Lady of the Rosary, and I will give a sign that the people will know that I'm truly here. And what happened was, at the October apparition, when the Blessed Mother appeared, she was talking to the children. Now, it had rained for 2 days. People were soaked, and the ground was all mud and so on. And when they started the rosary, as Our Lady was, just before she came, the rain stopped. And then Lucia and the children, the three children, actually were seeing Our Lady. When Lucia said, she wasn't even conscious of saying this, she just turned to the sun and she said, look at the sun. Because she had said to the Blessed Mother that people wanted a sign. And Our Lady pointed to the sun. And Lucia, she said she wasn't even conscious of the crowd behind her, 75,000, at least 55,000 in the cova. She said she was just spontaneously moved to say, look at the sun. And all of a sudden, what the people saw was the sun starting to emerge through clouds, and then all of a sudden, it started to spin, it started to send off colors, it started to move in the sky for about 10 to 15 minutes. I was in Fatima one time at a hotel, and this man showed me a photograph taken by someone of the crowd looking, let's say, in this direction at the sun. And he told me, Father, the sun is always over here. It's never there. That's how far the sun was. They called it dancing in the sky. And that went on for 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. People saw the colors coming. Some of the testimonies, which I write about in my book, some of the people said that because of the rays that the sun was giving off, people seemed the green and orange and red, all these colors were coming off the sun. And then all of a sudden, the sun began to hurtle as if it became detached from the sky and began to hurtle down to the earth. People thought it was the end of the world. People were confessing their sins. They were screaming for mercy, you know. They thought it was all over. And all of a sudden stopped, and back the sun went. And, you know, it's hard to say it was a mass hysteria. I mean, 55,000 people. And there were a lot of skeptics there. There were a lot of atheists. You know, the Masons were very strong they were in control of Fatima, of Portugal at the time. And you know what's also interesting? When the children were supposed to go to the cova for their apparition in August, they were abducted by the administrator, who was a Mason, and he was trying to stop the word of these apparitions. He wanted the children to confess that they made up the whole story. He even threatened to boil them in oil and, you know, and everything. The Blessed Mother told Lucia, if that had not happened, the miracle would have been far greater. But remember, even Jesus, when he was working miracles, he couldn't work any miracles in some places because their lack of faith hindered his power to work those miracles.
But to go back to the original question, too, this is a very powerful sign. Yet, to be a Catholic, is it necessary that one must believe
No.
in what happened?
No, you don't have to believe that Fatima actually occurred. I think it would be foolish not to. There's so much evidence for it, and it really, the message of Mary simply reinforces what we already have in the gospel, see? But whether non-Catholics would believe it, well, I'll tell you this, when the statue of the Blessed Mother of Fatima comes into Muslim countries, they go and pray to her, because remember, Fatima was the name of the daughter of Muhammad's first and favorite daughter. They have a love for Our Lady of Fatima. In fact, Bishop Sheen, in his beautiful book on the Blessed Mother called The World's First Love, he has a whole chapter on Our Lady of Fatima and the Muslims. And he said it was because the Muslims do believe in the Immaculate Conception of Mary. They believe in her virgin birth, that she gave birth to Christ. Unfortunately, they don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God. That's the problem there. But they do venerate her. She's the only woman mentioned in the Quran.
By name.
By name, right.
By name, right.
And,
other women are mentioned, but not by name.
Yeah. And even Muhammad made the comment. He said, my daughter Fatima will be the greatest woman in heaven after Mary. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So because of that love, Bishop Sheen said that the Blessed Mother went to the only place in all of Portugal with a Muslim name.
Yeah, it was named after a Muslim princess who became a Catholic.
That's right.
She was a convert.
Yeah, she died. See, she married this prince, and she died a year later. The people loved her. The prince had changed her name to, I believe, Orema, which meant the golden one, She gave her a Christian name there. And then she died a year later, and he was so sad, he entered the Cistercians. And then they sent him from that big monastery, a big Cistercian monastery in Balaha or something, the city there. And it held up, by the way, 999 monks. And St. Bernard was there when they dedicated that monastery. Well, he was sent from there to a little hermitage, and he asked if he could take the remains of his wife and bury them in there. And that's how the area became known as Fatima. See? And so the Muslims have a great respect. So would non-Catholics believe in this? I've seen non-Catholics who have seen the films on Fatima, and some of them are deeply struck, Right. So I think a lot depends on where they're at, how open they would be to, it's not part of the Bible, but for Catholics, I think, I know for myself growing up, I've always had a special love for Our Lady of Fatima.
Right. Let's have a studio question. Sir, were you